There's some thoughts of one that I had that was like, wow, that's rough. And then it was that moment where I'm staring into infinity, thinking of the ramifications that like really kind of brought to a weird silence by sort of the horror of a thought that I'm like, usually years and years ago I would put this thought aside, but now I'm brave enough to face such thoughts. Politically speaking, constituency wise, is there now a constituency that suffers? So okay, Black Americans as a constituency group, if everyone were to walk away and just let Black Americans' problems solve themselves, no matter how they came out, is there anybody that would lose other than, Black Americans? Just let that sink in. If we just let these people kill each other long enough, we let these white degenerates get addicted, don't worry, they'll sort themselves out. Now, you see, this is sort of like this idea of kind of like Gnostic, and if there were kind of cruel angels that sort of laugh at humans, that kind of thing. But solidly, this was something I was like, yeah, that's a rough thought. That's kind of rough. It's kind of hardcore. Who loses? So with tremendous amounts of money being doled out to Black Americans, yes, volleyball, fuck yeah, girls, you get that. Dig, girl, dig. With Black Americans being doled out tremendous amounts of money for their interpersonal and social problems, blaming the white man for Black women's bastardy and the inability to use birth control effectively, so they're dependent upon a system of welfare abortion clinics, mostly championed by white liberal women and liberal irreligious Jews. So what? So Black Americans, you see, there I could see. So if that's the thing. That would be a part of it. You would just let them keep doing that to themselves. So if Black people just keep harming themselves the way that Black people are harming themselves, being their own worst social problem, if they were to drop in population and just be eliminated by their own issues, if people literally were just like, well, now we're just not going to give you any fucking money, is there anybody who would lose from that? And just really, is there any reason to help Black Americans? Do we see any benefits? No matter when we throw money at the problem, do we see any benefits? Look at all this money that went to BLM. All has gone up in smoke. It was all fraud. Out and out fraud. Now we're starting to find out they were laundering money. They're buying expensive things and laundering the money with it. Magnificent. And I love how somebody like me, knowing about the El Rukins, knowing about the origin of the baby cribs and the origin of the Piru Street Bloods and stuff like that, being fascinated with, organized crime in America and how it exists, what it does. And to have all these people who they want to make accusations about fascism and the evil of people, this, that, and the other, and then they give to an organization that is obviously a shakedown criminal organization that just terrorizes neighborhoods, saying we're going to show up and there's going to be a riot. And I don't understand how they didn't know this. And then it hit me. I'm like, because they knew nothing about the 70s. They never saw those old television shows. They were never put on to that kind. They were never wise to it. That's really what it is. They were never wise to it. They were suckers. And that's what it is with the liberals now. They're fucking suckers. And you could take them every time if you know how. And that's, this was something actually that famously Trump had said sort of along the lines about Republicans. And he's like, Republicans are stupid, you could, if you were to just pose as one, you could run, I could win, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And it was kind of famously so. So, but the liberals, though, have been proven to be complete suckers. And I love now, that especially with the claims of the love of science, but yet definitive terms are getting changed to bend the results. They're bending the results, changing definitions of words. So it's over. They're suckers. They're untalented suckers. They're lesser. It's just they don't, because they have to cheat. Changing what the word vaccine means you cheated. You changed the rules of the game. So you lost. And that's the whole thing. You lost. You got no game. You're lames. You're suckers. And then your champions are crooks. From AOC to Hassan to Vouch to all of them. They're all just people ripping you off, pimping you out. You're just suckers. You progressives and liberals are just fucking suckers. Patrisse Cullors making you look like a bitch. Making you look like a punk-ass bitch. And if it wasn't for the tax man... Remember, this woman's now claiming that looking into their improperly done taxes for their non-profit corporation that's supposed to be helping people charitably, that looking into, you aren't filing any of your paperwork correctly. You seem to be buying a lot of mansions, that it's racist to even, look into what she's up to. I love it. Love it. That's now the definition of racism. Holding black people to the same criminal standards as white people. Liberals, the liberals and progressives, now have this beautiful, beautiful trap they've set for themselves. They're literally just now setting up bear traps and mines, and not remembering at night, and not remembering where they were. And so they keep walking back into them, but the thing that I really, so the other part about this, the other dangerous idea, one, if you were to just let black people just ruin their own lives, would anybody lose? Is there any other constituency other than black Americans who loses? Outside of lazy, degenerate white people who are in social work and nonprofits who are there to help damaged and dysfunctional black people be more dysfunctional without being accountable for it. They would their jobs would suffer a bit. But they're always looking for grants and stuff like that all the time. So it's not, that's kind of most of the job is selling people on the hustle. That's what it is to be a con artist. Because that's what the good portion of social work and all that is, just con artists trying to generate a way that they can make revenue, just kind of getting people this bare minimum amount of anything, when what this is supposed to be is families, that we should be doing everything we can to encourage some kind of way for families to be in proximity to one another. That would be beneficial. But that's its own thing. Okay. So the other thing I was thinking that I was like, that this dangerous idea was the liberals as now these chumps who somebody with an AA can keep seeing through all the stuff that the liberals keep buying. Yeah, because I live in an enclave that has all these progressives and liberals, and these people are lining up for their boosters. These idiots are still wearing masks outdoors. It really is this thing of, I mean, like, there's something about liberals and progressives that you're chumps, and there's something. This is very quite logically. It's quite logically that you're wrong. It's easily seen because of all the homeless junkies that are walking around with like dirty rags wrapped around their heads, and they're not piling up in the street. And you could see the open sores, fucked up by things, obviously bitten by bugs, not all, but nope, you don't see them coughing. You don't even see them coughing. That's one I never even thought about. You don't even see them coughing in the dead of winter, rainy days, looking like hell, but they're not coughing. There's like the box man who comes in. He's always holding a box, same box, wrapped in like a garbage bag. Who knows what, if, I guess all his possessions in there. Never, voice clear as a bell. Not even a frog in his throat. I'm sorry, your logic doesn't add up. What the data showed, that adds up. That Palestine, without the vaccines or the level of care that could be dedicated, that Israel had much better outcomes in Israel. Palestine has had much better outcomes in Israel and didn't take Israel's approach. Took more of an approach much closer to something like Sweden. That they just had to deal with it as they could as poor people. It was same throughout many African nations. This is why you're not hearing much about masses and masses of deaths across Africa, because they treated it as they just could, and they treated it with therapeutics. People got sick, they treated the sick. That's it. No, America fucked up. The progressives and liberals are now dumber than African peasants. You're dumber than religious Palestinians, religious Muslims. Russia also is one of these countries that, they said, oh, vaccine, you gotta get shot up. But it's something like, I don't even think 20% of their adults did or something like that. Like, Russia was a really good example of a country that made it available. Very few went for it. Same thing. The results are fine. America fucked up. America fucked it up. And everything that we look at, where are the concentrations? The concentrations are in liberal and progressive voting areas. And that's going to be it. I mean, it's just after a while, it's like, no, the chumps don't like thinking they're chumps. It hurts their feelings. They don't like thinking, I'm easily fooled, I'm taken all the time. I'm physically afraid of black people, so I do anything to assuage them, like bad children, or a dog that's big and snarls at me, and I'll do anything I can to make it feel okay. I literally approach the world like the chump ass, like the chump ass naive, quasi hero of a horror movie, asking Becky all the time, what should we go, should we do this? And at some point I'm going to get some balls and I'm going to take out, I'm going to take out Freddy. I'm going to take out Mike Myers, at the last moment. Go, Becky, run! And I'm going to take out Mike Myers. And nope. No, you won't. No, you won't. No. Because the story of America is the crazy stomping. There we go. That's what it was. We need the Peckerwoods to unite. That was the other dangerous idea. Like, you can't say that. Nope, gotta say it. We need the Peckerwoods to unite. Peckerwoods need to get together, and there needs to be like a diner where everybody who would try to fuck with their neighborhood, they gotta drive past this spot. And those boys are out there drinking coffee, ain't bothering nobody. They got music playing, they got some Conway Twitty, got some maybe some Johnny Cash. I particularly like Johnny Cash, But there's more, there's beautifully outlaw stuff like that. I don't even know about. And actually, if there is some outlaw country, the real stuff, steel guitar. It's got to have steel guitar. It cannot have auto-tune. If there is country you want to drop in the comments for me to look for, tell me, because I like the old stuff. I like the old stuff. I like the Rebel Renegade stuff. That's better, than Goonie Goo Goo, like auto-tune. Texas toast. I got my flag and my Texas toast. Got my truck. And it's just like after a while, I'm like, no. I want something old with a steel guitar and a guy with a big ass hat. And matches his jacket and vest. I want to, he's performing at the Opry. The Peckerwoods need to unite. They need to proudly unite. Because what it is, you see this, things like skinheads. See, being around that culture, there's only so much. There's only so much that can go on because of it. It's so confined to an era and style. It's very specific to an era and style, and it kind of draws people into more of the youth cult mentality. It's not as natural. It would be more natural in Britain, in Europe, where that look originated from. That's where that mod style came from. Coming, from Carnaby Street. But something more organic to our country, and really the white guys need to understand, like, they're going to have to now and then look like a group that is a bit fearsome. They have to. They're starting to see that's the only way, and that the women only will respect you then. The women will only respect you once they think that you will stomp a mud hole in the ass of somebody who tries to break into a house in the neighborhood. Then the women will start respecting. It's terrible, it's unfortunate, but also all there needs to be too is the network, the unity network. But also it's got to be, when you're as a group, no schlubbing, no pants falling, no looking like crap. You gotta make people have to look at you and be like, whoa, who are those guys? And it's stupid. In a way, it's stupid. It is like we're just sitting here showing off, looking. But no, you're enjoying being men, hanging out together. You've had that taken from you, white men. Just hanging out and in public where people could see. And now a lot of you still live someplace where you're like, well, wait, are you talking about hanging out with my friends just someplace? Yes, but I really want people to understand, like, the idea. There are some of you who, where you live, it would be pretty obvious if there was like a large group of white dudes just cold chilling. Like, what are those guys all doing there? And people should ask that question. What are those guys all doing there? And that's why it's like I kind of admire the quote-unquote lodge system, things like Eagles Club, things like that. That is what at some point is going to come back, is something kind of along those lines. Kind of the exclusive physical location for club members. And, but anyway, because discrimination will become necessary. Yeah, because discrimination will become necessary. So, that was just what was running through my mind over the last about 24 hours. If people were to abandon Black Americans to their fate or destiny, who is there anybody other than Black people who lose? And then if the Peckerwoods united, tough white guys, united and looked out for each other and started just hanging out, it would probably be like barcades. It would probably be like, like a game club, a gaming and car club or something like that. But it would be something along those lines. Like, it's just something that the two of them, why they're even at the same place at the same time. It's some club. I don't know. No. But, and then there's a part, yeah. Let me just stop there because I'm starting to think of more fanciful organizational kind of things that I don't think will really happen anytime soon. I also think this is, in a way, but where my mind was going is, I think this will change, especially, this is something that would be very possible among Roman Catholics. This is something that really, is almost a Roman Catholic thing in its origin, with the idea of the youth center in an urban area in America. Often these were for immigrant Catholic youth that were from countries where violence had not yet become as violence was just simply more normal. And so they brought over a lot of that aspect of the culture, and then it was the idea was the youth centers were supposed to be able to be a place where then more responsible elements of society could influence young people, because young people want to be around one another. That's also the issue too, is this would be a young thing. The older guys would have, they would say hello and this and that, but they would be busy. But also a part of it too is, if this would work correctly, the older guys would be hiring on the younger guys a lot of times. This would become this is how people do and would behave. There's some people who are probably going to be like, yeah, where I live, we still do that. We hang out at this market because to pass through town, you got to go down this road. We wave and everybody's there and the old timers are there and young guys, we don't just malinger because we're busy people, because, we're white, so, but yeah, people will just hang out for a while, see who's around in town, coming by and chat and blah, 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 because I've been to parts of rural Oregon where I see that. Like, who are those guys? What are they doing? You get curious about that. What are those guys up to? But, all right. So, there we go. Those were some ideas that were running through my head that were pretty dangerous, I thought. But kind of dangerous things to think. But, I have to confront stuff like this. This is something I've realized over about the last decade. A little bit beyond that was when I started really looking into theology, and Stefan Molyneux had done a lot, but not enough. And there was something, I was starting to hear him talk to that one dude, Mark what's-his-face, about theology, and there were different channels that they would bring stuff up, and they'd be like, no, this term about the mind, about the way the mind works, this is a theological term in origin, yada, 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 yada. So, So it's that I started to realize, no, when there's a terrible thought, you must confront it. Until you start to more and more get practice at such things, you're practicing against the most terrible of thoughts, the most terrible of betrayals of your mind. For that is what the evil one and his legions can do. They can turn the human mind. But and then something, this one last time, this was something that now with this character in New York subway, that the thing that I'm really loving is that the white liberals really have to confront, they really don't know that much about Black Americans along these lines of the kinds of people who form the real hate groups, like the real anti-American groups, the real pro-Black groups, the real Black militant groups. That you never hear white liberal journalists talk about the 5% Nation of Islam, Black Hebrew Israelites, the Moorish Science Temple. I bet they don't even know that the Moorish Science Temple exists. They just keep hearing about these squatters and going, oh, it's racist to tell Black squatters they can't move into a house that's somebody else owns. That's so terrible. Why do you own so many houses? Why don't you just give one to Blackie? And it's like, no, they're not Blacks, they're Moors. What do you mean they're Moors? That doesn't make any sense. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense unless you know why they call themselves Moors and not Blacks. They call themselves Moors. You have to know why. That means you'd have to know about Noble Drew Ali, and you'd have to know about Clarence 13X. Now, that was the other one. Clarence 13X and the 5% Nation are probably one of the most influential subcultures. So there's two subcultures that are incredibly influential and nobody knows. The skinheads and the 5% Nation. And most people have no idea. They have no clue, especially the progressives and liberals. They have no idea how influential those two have been on everything around their kids' lives. I just think about that, like credit where credit's due. They have no clue. And the Doc Martens, the cuffed jeans, the dressing like it's the 80s, the mod look, the Antifa, like nobody understands. That's all skinhead. That's all hard mod skinhead style. Girls with the short hair and the look like Susie Sue, that's all mod skinhead style. Hard mods, East End mods. And then with the 5% Nation, that's everything hip hop. That's everything hip hop. Anything even remotely related to it. People say word. People say word. Little white girls say word to their suburban white moms. All right, later.